with the permission of everybody, let's, with a rousing applause, receive the Chairman General, Honorable Johnson Asiedu Nketiah, MP.
Please sit down, please sit down.
Like I told you before we started, Chairman General Asiedu Nketiah is also a leader. He's a serious leader from the scratch, and he worked in the Sekwa area. So it is the revolution that brought him to the Consultative Assembly that drafted the constitution that has given us peace and progress in this country. And he has always been yearning that the Cadres story be told. So, Chairman General, welcome, and we are at your.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Comrades, I'd like to say how happy I always am when we have an occasion together as Cadres to remind ourselves what we have gone through and then to teach the younger ones the sacrifices that have been made to grow the process up to this stage. I am one person who believes in history because I believe that if you do not take lessons from your history, you are bound to repeat all the bad things that your forefathers have gone through. So there has been always debate as to why we should continue celebrating events related to the revolution. I have stood firm that it is because of the health of our democracy that we should continue to study what happened before the Fourth Republic so that we can avoid the potholes that can take us back. So I always appeal to both those who are against the revolution and those who are for the revolution. It is equally in your interest that events of the revolution be commemorated and remembered, so that we learn lessons which will take us forward. I have my own experiences of the events of June 19th. And not even that alone. There was even a much more serious one in September. But we will live to tell that story another day. Because that September, I was caught in the crossfire. At some point, I was asked to put my hands up to be shot. But I also survived. So I've listened to the stories by all the survivors and senior killers. And my faith in the establishment of a party museum has been renewed. When you listen to the stories that we are hearing today, you realize that they need to be recorded as early as possible before the eyewitnesses pass on to glory. So that we can keep these recordings and continue learning lessons from them. That was why on June 4th, I made an announcement that we are going to try to build a party museum so that we can keep all the records of the party before the actual formation of the party from June 4th up to today. And that is one of the things that will help us to groom younger cadres. Because whatever we do will one day pass. So we have to pass these lessons to the younger ones. And as has been said earlier by earlier speakers, that the cadreship is not in age, is not in who was where at a certain particular time. It is a spirit that needs to be nurtured. And that is why we are also passionate about our party school. There is always some rivalry about whether we should have young cadres different from the youth wing of the party and so on. I think that if we organize very well, we will realize that there shouldn't be any such argument at all. If our training is very effective, we can catch the younger ones, train them, and imbibe in them the spirit of patriotism and the spirit of sacrifice and the courage to live and die by your convictions. And then the spirit of accountability. So that by the time they grow, you can define a cadre as somebody who is imbibed with these attributes. Whatever structure they find themselves in the proper party structure, doesn't matter. I stand here as the national chairman, but I'm a cadre. Nothing takes that thing away from me. There are a lot of people who are also cadres who function at various levels of the party. So if we focus on nurturing that spirit of cadreship in our party youth, it will not matter where they find themselves. They will always speak and behave as cadres of the party. And we are not the only party that does that. In the older parties, in the older democracies, it is practice. When you go to UK, they have young labor, and they group people from the universities, from the other tertiary institutions, and groom them in what the party stands for and so on. And when there is Congress, they are allowed space to also participate fully. So by the time they finish school, they are already prepared as leaders, as the next generation of leaders. So it can be done. It's done in China, it's done in South Africa with ANC and all major old parties in the older democracies. So it can be done. Before I proceed, I just want to add, I think the last part of the Jiwa story has not been told by anybody who came to speak. The last part of Jiwa's story happened in Brongahafu. And I can see some of our strong VA cadres who have traveled all along to join us on this day. You know, when the Jiwa attempt was foiled, some of them, I think Jiwa and Malik, vanished. And there were stories about their appearances at certain places and when they are seen, they vanish. They were considered to be so spiritually powerful. So, as a country, we continue to be tormented by Jiwa, the ghost of Jiwa, Malik, and I think Suleimana or somebody. Adabugas and the others. But the part of the story that ended in Brongahafu then was that, the government in Cote d'Ivoire at that time was so much against our revolution. And so the anti-revolutionary forces had very serious cooperation with the authorities in Cote d'Ivoire. So when the attempts here failed, they decided to penetrate through Cote d'Ivoire. Then on one fateful day, they came under the guise of cocoa smugglers or something. They entered through Drobo, came in a taxi with some equipment which when they deploy can jam Radio Ghana, and you will be listening to only what they will be broadcasting from their suitcase. So when they were crossing the border to Ghana, they were apprehended as if they were smugglers also, and locked up at a border post. Those days we had the regular military, and then we have a unit called the border guards. And there was this popular border guard officer who was seen to be very cooperative with cocoa smugglers. So his mantra always is that cocoa scam akufoni. So he came to be known all over the place as cocoa scam. So you chop some, I chop some. So when Jiwa and I think Malik also were apprehended and locked up in cells, they pretended that they wanted to attend nature's call, and Kokoska was on duty. So he tried to open the door for them to go out, to be escorted to a place where they can free themselves. Unknown to him, they had been put in the cell when they were still having knives on them, on their bodies. So immediately they opened. They used some pan. I'm told, I haven't been in cells before, but I'm told there's some pan where you can wee it. So when they opened, they took the pan and covered the head of Kokoska, and then used their knives to stab him, and he died instantly. So Jiwa and his friends escaped. So when the announcement came out that some cocoa smugglers have killed Kokoska, it was very big news. The whole community was mobilized because Kokoska was very popular. Why should smugglers come to eliminate Kokoska? So the thought about Jiwa or anti-revolutionaries had not come in at all. So the communities were around Drobo, Jama area were mobilized. Information was sent around for them to look for those who killed Kokoska. Now, Jiwa's group, unfortunately for them, or because of our spirits, Côte d'Ivoire was just close. But they will go around, they don't cross the border, and they are still within Ghana. And then there was a heavy rain which drenched them in the night, so they got soaked. So in the morning of the following day, they appeared in one village called Kokosia, along the border, like people who had gotten lost and they needed help. So they appeared and asked that they be given warm water to have their bath and change their clothes and so on. So all that was provided. And the people of Kokosia, because there was no mobile phones and things like that, they had no idea at all even about the death of Kokoska. So they assisted these guys. And when they finished, they asked about how they could get to Sampa. And there was only one mummy truck at that time, so they just joined it and left, heading towards Sampa. Meanwhile, Kokosia is just a mile away from Côte d'Ivoire. They could have just entered and gone away. But they chose to join the mummy truck that took them inside Ghana and then to Drogo area, Adamsu, back to Sampa before they crossed. So when they crossed the Adamsu barrier, because of cocoa smuggling, there were several barriers. So immediately they crossed Adamsu barrier. Then the police and border guards there heard the news that some people had killed Kokoska. And the search party had heard a story about some 3 guys who wandered in the bush and came to Kokosia drenched in rain, and they were assisted. So they are suspected to be those who killed Kokoska. Then the police said, oh, we just cleared this truck which came from Kokosia. So it's likely that they are on board the truck. Then the Cadres, the community were alerted and they mobilized to chase that mummy truck. Thank God our roads were not good at that time. So they were running and chasing the truck. They were led by Comrade Atabediako. He just died 2 years ago. May his soul rest in peace. And when they were closing on the truck, Jiwa and the 2 others jumped out of the truck and started running into the bush. So the Cadres continued to chase them. And I think Jiwa had his leg injured because of the jump or something. But the Cadres continued chasing. All the community search party members had left, but the Cadres continued. And then they finally arrested them. So when the 3 were arrested, the Cadres decided to remove their shirts and other things. And then they saw the whole body covered with amulets. So they were scared. Then you were asked, do you know me? I am Cobra Halidu Jiwa. So it was only at that point that even the Cadres knew they were fighting the anti-revolutionaries. So it became a double game. They thought they were fighting criminals, ordinary criminals, but they have now turned to be the ones who have arrested Jiwa and his accomplices. So they were quickly taken back to Drobo and then dispatched with a helicopter to 3rd Battalion, Sunyani. They pleaded to be sent to Accra. So they were sent to Accra. I didn't follow them. So that is the end of the Jiwa story. After what's the last chapter of the Bible? After Revelation, what happened? They were neutralized. So that was how the Jiwa story ended. And so the lessons we must take, even as we are trying to reset the country, is that believe in the right cause. And when you believe in the right cause, you must stand firm and be prepared to live by your utterances, what you believe in. And if you have to die but what you believe in, prepare to die. Because you will die anyway. So it is good to die for the right cause. Otherwise, you may end up dying for the wrong cause. Also, put your nation first. Those who were chasing Jiwa and Coup, they were not related to the Cocoa scammer. It was just about hunting down criminals in a community. And they succeeded in neutralizing Jiwa to save the process. And also, don't think that we have come to the end of the process. We are still in the process. So there will continue to be survivors. There will continue to be heroes and heroines. It is the nature of the process that has changed. Today, we also have our modern day heroes and heroines. There are several people who were injured at Ayawasu because they stood for the right cause. There are people who resisted cheating in Techimai South. Some died, some were injured, but they are equally heroes of the process. So don't think that because you were not born at that time, you can also not be a hero of the process. Today, if you stand firm and defend Mother Ghana, defend NDC, you can also be a hero. So, as has been said, I am engaged in another activity somewhere at the local government training school. We are now doing orientation for the MMDCs. That's why I have to speak first and leave for the others to continue. But I want to remind you of the announcements we made on June 4th in Krobodumase. First, we've recognized that many of our anniversaries fall within the month of June. We have June 4th, we have June 10th, we have June 19th. We propose to celebrate June 22nd, which falls on Sunday, here at this very same moment. So we've taken the decision that the month of June be named as the NDC month, so that we will do all our celebrations and major activities in June. Why 22nd June? 22nd June is the birth date of the founder of the party, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings. So we are going to begin celebrating Jerry Rawlings' birthday as one of the holidays, important days on our party calendar, beginning this year. Because of the Homo War, many of our celebrations have been low-key. Be that as it may, we need to begin the celebration, and in subsequent years, we will direct that these events be commemorated in all our branches countrywide. We have also decided at FEC, which decision is yet to be presented to the National Executive Committee. And I know the signals I'm getting is that we have almost had an advance approval that this building be renamed Jerry Rawlings House. And then we have also decided to contribute to rehabilitate the Revolutionary Square. So I'm sure the UCF chairman has already kick-started a process. We are not very clear how to approach it, because there have been court rulings that June 4th cannot be celebrated on the public purse. But we have maintained that June 4th is an NDC day, and we will continue celebrating it from our own resources. So the Revolutionary Square, we need to engage the various authorities, maybe museums and monuments authority and other things, to give us permission to rehabilitate the Revolutionary Square and keep it in good shape, because it is part of our history. It is an important monument that reminds us about an important part of the history of Ghana and of our democracy. Comrades, I want to end here and wish you all. Okay, Akuya has reminded me about the welfare matter. 10 years ago, I proposed a Heroes Fund. We actually started. Somewhere along the line, we did not get the cooperation of the whole party, so the Heroes Fund fizzled into insignificance. What Akuya was saying reminds me about the objectives of setting up the Heroes Fund at that time. Because where we are now, if we are in government, it is difficult to deploy the resources of the state for the upkeep of our cadres. So we need to think outside the box to find out how else we can do it. And that was why we established the Heroes Fund. We did not enjoy the cooperation of everybody on board. But as the days and years passed by, the idea of a Heroes Fund becomes even more relevant. Because if we have a Heroes Fund, we can do so many things about dealing with the medication of our comrades who have struggled for the process, dealing with the children of people who have fallen in the line of duty. And I believe that that is one of the most powerful ways of growing NDC. Because if you are growing a party, you can't force people to join your party. You can only make the party appealing. And if my father fought and died for a process, and because of that, his children, education and other things suffered. If you are living in the same community with other people whose father lived and took care of their education, and those group of children grow up and they ask them which party they want to join, they will certainly not join NDC. So it is our duty to make the party appealing. Our cadres, you are all living in the communities. Because we were taught not to focus on amassing wealth. And the perception of the younger generation is now different. Many of you have become laughing stocks in your communities. So if your father is a laughing stock in his community, and you want to look for a party to join, would you come to join the party which made your father a laughing stock? That is why we must focus on making our party attractive, so that people will be proud that they had a role to play at a point in time in bringing the process this far. And that is why I strongly believe recognition may be even more important than material gains. And so that's why I still believe that the various actors who have very important stories to tell, if we get these stories recorded, that will be one way of making them live even after they are dead. And then their children and great-grandchildren will be proud that their grandparents contributed something towards the development of this nation. So as Comrade Nketiah has also added her voice, when things settle, we will revisit the idea of the Heroes Fund, try and build it up for it to offer some welfare services of our comrades who have suffered for this process. I thank you very much. Aluta! Aluta!